What's up, world? E-Cushionist here. Tapping in live from the stew in North Carolina. This is lesson number 5, trimester number 1 of 2026. This is free lessons for all ages and all levels right here on NGO Radio Terra's platform on YouTube. Today, we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, something near and dear to me, which is 3 incredible breakbeats with an honorable mention to the great James Gadsden. Rest in power to one of the greatest drummers of all time. I'm going to be showing my favorite James Gadsden, one of my favorite James Gadsden grooves later after I go through these 3 incredible breakbeats. Let's get right to it. These breakbeats are the essential backbone of my vocabulary when it comes to a lot of my pocket playing. So a lot of times when I'm searching for things to play over different things or situations, I'm going to be probably playing some version of one of these 3 breakbeats. And of course, this catalog of breakbeats that I draw inspiration from doesn't stop with these 3, but I figured these 3 would be one of the best ways to show you some of this inspiration and show you some of this breakbeat goodness. Let's get to it. What is a breakbeat? A breakbeat is a part of a record that from the disco or from the soul and funk era would have just drums in it or just percussion in it or maybe just drums and bass or drums and vocals. But either way, it would just be mainly drums and like maybe one other instrument. A very pared down breakdown, and then people, DJs, namely in the hip hop era, like Kool Herc and Red Alert and Grand Wizard Theodore and Jazzy J, I'm talking early pioneers would take these breaks and loop them instead of playing the full record. They would just party to these 2 records, right? They'd have 2 turntables, and this is obviously for people who don't know this, and of course we got to cram a lot of information for a wide array of experience into 30 minutes. So if I'm doubling up on information you already know, bear with us. But if I'm giving you new information, then welcome, and I'm excited for you. But anyways, 2 turntables and a mixer, and you could take a double of the same record. So the same record on this turntable and the same record on this turntable, and find that select break that just had the drums in it, and then let that play over here, 2, 3, let that play over here, 2, and then rewind this record and let it play right in time again for the loop to happen. And there you go. That's beat juggling. So essentially what we're doing when we're playing break beats is thinking about juggling these beats. Every time you repeat the same phrase, that's the DJ switching to the other side of the record. Switching to the other side, switching to the other side. It's the same record, right? On both sides. We're just looping it. And that's what they had to do in order to get that sound and bring hip hop into fruition. So let's start with them. All right. Let's start with Impeach the President. This is drummed by a guy named Morris. And the legend has it that there's only a single name for the drum part that was credited, and that's to a person named Morris. All right, so this is the groove originally. Right. That's from a band called the Honey Drippers, and it goes into a whole other song, but that became what would be known as Nas's "I Can." That would be known as maybe 100 other songs has that drum break in it. But the 3 I'm going to focus on right now is Nas, "I Can," LL Cool J, "Around the Way Girl," and Janet Jackson, "That's the Way Love Goes." So I'm just going to interpret these grooves to the best of my ability on the acoustic drum set as per the record, right? So the original is. And then as far as the transition from the original Impeach the President groove, and I think I forgot to tell you what the name of this groove was. I just told you that it was drummed by Morris. This is Impeach the President, all right? And this is an incredibly powerful drum break. It did change from song to song, and when producers sample a record, they put their own drum programming on top of it, which inevitably changes the direction of the feel. So the original was what I just played, and then I Can by Nas is pretty much exactly the same thing. Where it gets a little bit different is with Around the Way Girl, because it goes from 95 BPM to 101 BPM. So And one of the things I want to emphasize is that if you noticed, the main difference was that I played consistent eighth notes in the right hand on that record versus the way I interpreted the original Impeach the President, drummed by Morris, and the way Nas's I Can sounds. I'm not hitting my hi-hat on beat 4. And then I'm coming in right after that, though. The reason for that is because it creates a great space that in a very short amount of time speaks volumes and is really big in sonic impact or lack of sonic impact. Where things changes on the Around the Way Girl, the producer put the eighth notes on the beat, and it makes it a little bit different. So it's just slightly different. Same thing goes for That's the Way Love Goes, but the hi-hat sound is a little higher pitched. So I'll take off this little muffling device that I have here. Right? As opposed to right? And of course, we like to take these break beats uptown tempo wise to hear what they would sound like in a jungle context or a drum and bass context. Right. So just think about adding more space. That's what it kind of makes me observe about myself and about the choices that we make is it's really easy to add more notes, but it's a little bit more of a sign of a wise musician to take away some notes and see what that does to the final project, right? So yeah, so that's three records. Okay, that's "Impeach the President" by the Honey Drippers. Then it became Nas's "I Can," and then it became LL Cool J's. Well, and by the way, this is not in chronological order, but it's LL Cool J's "Around the Way Girl," Janet Jackson's "That's the Way Love Goes," and so many more. Check out all the people who made something with that beat. All right, the next beat I want to take a look at is the Isley Brothers' "Footsteps in the Dark." All right, this is drummed by Ernie Isley, and this is what album is this on? Go for Your Gut. No, wait. Go for Your Guns. Get back in there. There you go. All right, hope you're enjoying this. I love playing these break beats, and remember, like these are go-to ideas for anybody who's wondering why they should know this. These are instantaneous, danceable beats that sound incredible over a lot of things. All right. I feel like when something feels so good to you and it feels like a moving vehicle that you don't want to get off, that's how you know you're into it. That's how you know you're making it feel good. So I hope that y'all are feeling good out there with these grooves, and I feel like they play themselves. This groove right here sounds great, not because I'm playing it, but because Ernie Isley geniusly created something that then could become Thundercats Them Changes. So let's listen to that. All right, so what's the difference? Maybe a little bit faster, but also the second bar of this two bar phrase in the original has 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? The second bar on Them Changes is 1, 2, 3, 4. Both bars have an opening on the hi-hat on the end of beat 4, but there is 3 extra bass drum beats in the original Footsteps in the Dark breakbeat. All right, so let me again play Footsteps in the Dark. Them Changes. Versus so that's really interesting, right? Then we have Ice Cube's It Was a Good Day. Now, this is cool because this actually has a very similar feel to the original, and it is just a little bit faster, and it has some drum programming on it that's a little bit different. It has like a clap sound, so. The hi-hat opens on the end of 4 is really important. Like, these break beats sound super similar to each other, so it's important to remember that, say, the hi-hat opening that is very distinct on Impeach the President is on the end of 3. The hi-hat opening that makes Footsteps in the Dark is on the end of 4, right? So let's check out how Jay Dilla flipped the Footsteps in the Dark breakbeat for Won't Do from The Shining. First of all, it's significantly faster. I'd say almost 13 or 14 BPM faster. Let's check it out. All right, so a couple things with that. It is faster. He puts 4 on the floor on the 4th bar of what he created in a 4-bar loop, right? So this loop is done in 2 bars. The first bar is. The second bar is. Right? With the original being the second bar. So Jay Dilla omitted those 3 extra beats from the original in the bass drum part, but added sort of a 4 on the floor thing to that 4th bar. And only in the 4th bar does he open the hi-hat. So it's a 4-bar phrase. The first 3 bars just do. Right? And there's a little space. All right, so Footsteps in the Dark sounds like this. Won't Do sounds like. right? So different tempo, kind of a different approach, totally different phrasing. Yeah, it's just important to check that out. And then, of course, It Was a Good Day is a classic Cali record, classic Ice Cube record from the album The Predator. What can I say? Not much more. Go check out this incredibly infectious groove. Shout out Thundercat. Shout out Ernie Isley and the Isley Brothers. Shout out Jay Dilla. Rest in power. And shout out to Ice Cube for this one right here. All right. All right. Let's get to this third breakbeat. This is called The Funky Drummer from James Brown and Clyde Stubblefield. This is an incredibly important record to drumming, to hip hop, and just drum history in general. I think that when the 535 time marking happens on this record, history was changed forever. The groove that Clyde Stubblefield plays is unmatched. This might be, out of all three of these, the mother of all breaks to me. The Funky Drummer is what it says it is. It is the Funky Drummer. And like I said, because I'm playing it, it doesn't sound dope. It's dope because it's already dope. Because Clyde Stubblefield is incredibly dope. So, yeah. Whew. So, among hundreds of songs are three records that I've picked out. And that's obviously the original Funky Drummer. That's Let Me Ride by Dr. Dre from The Chronic. Freedom from George Michael, and Fight the Power from Public Enemy. All these songs use this exact same drum break. Let's discover it. Let's check it out. All right, so let me slow it down. Right, so the Funky Drummer is an essential part of your drumming vocabulary, and this goes great in like every music context. You can apply this. And clearly, it was applied to a lot of different music contexts right here, because I'm looking at the Powder Puff Girls, I'm looking at George Michael, Public Enemy, Dr. Dre. Actually, I don't have the Public Enemy cover art up here, but this is to kind of show you that there's a diverse way that you can play this kind of break. The Powerpuff Girls theme, they just upped the tempo like crazy. But like the Dr. Dre joint, see, this is interesting because the way Dr. Dre approached this was he covered the majority of the entire breakbeat with his drum programming and created two sections. One section keeps the same kind of sonic textures but changes up in terms of how much is there. And the other one is a bit of a different beat on top of a very, very faint reveal of the original breakbeat. Okay, and this kind of alternate groove on "Let Me Ride" sounds like this. So with the funky drummer. So right, that's like me doing my best to kind of take the original exact funky drummer rhythmic cycle and put it inside of that new hi-hat opening. So 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E, which creates a 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E and 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E. It just creates a different way of having to move my foot, my left foot. Actually, that's kind of the most challenging part about this groove in general, is that it's 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 and a 4 E, 2, right? And then the hook keeps the same opening hi-hat, but it emphasizes the sample in volume. I didn't have enough time to really get even deeper into how I can use each limb or incorporate some loops or pad work in order to make some of these rhythmic compositions come alive even more. But I think it's kind of deep. And really, the goal is ultimately to figure out how to play these big, vast, multi part drum productions just with a kit, right? So that's what I'm doing, is looking at, say, Funky Drummer through the lens of Dr. Dre and interpolating it and interpreting it myself. So now let's look at Funky Drummer through the lens of George Michael, right? So this is Freedom. The biggest part about this is it has like a whole conga, like a Latin percussion part, but it's got this open hi-hat thing. Again, it's straight eighth notes on the hi-hat with the one and the and of one opened. So, you know, So just to refresh you about what the original pattern is, and now George Michael is doing it like this. Clyde did it. So that's pretty cool. I really like the way that sounds. I'm a big fan. George Michael, rest in power. Boom. All right, fight the power. This one's definitely faster. This one has an incredible amount of samples in addition to another drum sample, which I don't know what that is, but there's another drum sample on top of this. So it all to me kind of sounds like this. It's probably more like. There's a challenge to it, but you can rise to the occasion and get to it. This is the beauty of being resilient and resourceful. Grab your tambourine and work on these grooves. Fight the Power by Public Enemy, Funky Drummer, Clyde Stubblefield, James Brown. Shout out Dr. Dre, George Michael. All these fantastic artists that we are surrounded by and inspired to use some of these grooves and put them in our own thing, y'all. This is the whole point. This is what I keep on stressing, is that it's not how many hundreds of different things that you know how to play. It's how many hundreds of ways you know how to play one thing. Because that's ultimately what the gig is. That's what we're doing out here. That's what we're doing. We're just really trying to figure out. All these scenarios are the same, right? It's do you have a 5/4 groove? Do you have a triplet 6/8 blues feel for me? Can you play a samba? Can you play a mambo? Can you play something like Jay Dilla-ish? Someone's going to ask you all these different things. Maybe any one drummer may not get this wide variety of requests, but certainly in any particular pop gig, you might be asked to play a 6/8 groove, a really fast sort of like almost punk rock style groove, and like a slow, heavy ballad vibe. Those things require you to know a lot of different other versions of those same things so that you can just play that one thing. Rest in power to James Gatson. Thank you so much, sir, for all that you have done. Your drumming lives on. Let's go home with "Express Yourself" by James Gatson. An honorable mention, this is also an NWA song called Express Yourself, taken after the original song called Express Yourself by Charles Wright in the Watts 103rd Street Band. Big shout out to everybody who is in the chat, subscribing to the channel, liking the videos, and showing support. This is NGO Radio Terra's free lessons for all ages and all levels. This is lesson number 5, trimester number 1 of 2026. My name is Matt Vorsmer, aka Ecussionist, and a big shout out to our sponsors. First of all, NGO Radio Terra, we already said them, but we always got to thank them triple double. And ProWell Incorporated, Roland, Sensory Percussion, Tambora Drums. Thank you so much. You guys help us make it happen. See you next week.